Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you all, good to see you. So, hold on, actually, give me 1 second here. Okay, I think we're good. Anyway, we're gonna skip the ad for today, but check out the links in the description below for all the ways that you could support me and my work. And yeah, today, this afternoon, what we're gonna work on is we're gonna try to figure out how to what? Show various unlock types, particularly the cards. So what I was mentioning earlier today, I go to my unlocks menu here. What I was mentioning earlier today is that I want to have some cards unlockable because they're part of a card pack, but I also want to have some cards unlockable, they just remain hidden until you acquire them in-game. So cards that are not part of card packs, which are like unlockable units of cards. So like this is a card pack here, the Deep Sea pack, which I'll probably end up adding cards to. But the idea is that once you complete an unlock condition, all of these cards will be unlocked and available for you to see and available for you to bring or to pull into the game or to acquire in-game. But for all the cards that are not initially part of an unlockable card pack, I still want to hide them until you actually acquire them in-game. So it's kind of like a codex or a compendium that's being built up over time. So we're going to figure out what to do with that. This option probably is going to change, this encyclopedia. What I think I'm going to try is I'm going to try to do something similar to what I've done in my tool here. My card inspection tool, which is basically just create a giant board to start. And then what I could do is I could selectively hide the card art. So basically show everything here on the board. So let's say ally cards. So show all the ally cards on the board, but then hide the art and hide the tooltip data until you've actually unlocked that or acquired that in-game. So that's the idea. And I have no idea how that's going to work. I'm still worried to some extent about the performance for that, but we will see. We will see. Anyway, hello Dev Godot, welcome. 2 lives in 1 day, yes indeed. Welcome back. Diginanigans, hello, hello. Welcome. Good to see you again. Good afternoon, Ninja Link. Good to see you as always. Oh, shoot. Okay. So we're going to want to put something new in here to load up all the cards. We're definitely going to want to move this button. I'm going to change this to all cards button, maybe. We'll call this all cards. Yeah. So let's go and change that. Oh, did I not have... Why is my VS Code doing that? Let's just restart it so it doesn't get wonky on me. Okay, we'll change this to all cards button. Okay. Private void on all cards. Rest. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to need a different way of showing this in here. So we've got the inner panel. I probably want to keep that. Keep the inner panel sprite. So this unlock item container, that's probably the thing that's going to need to go away. So let's put another container in here, and we'll do a board container. Then we'll put the instantiate child scene board. Let's do disable card drop. And receive necrosis, hide decorations on. Do we want to do hide decorations on? I guess we could do that. Is combat board. I think this is okay. So the board container here, let's see. What is the width? I'm not going to be able to very easily measure this, I don't think, but let's see. Nope. So each board cell is 18 pixels. 68. What is 68 divided by 18? 3? Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Am I going to have like a perfect amount? Oops. No. Ah, it's just barely off. I guess that's okay because the margin or the scroll container needs some area to scroll anyway. But anyway, so 440 by 254. So what is that? What did I say that was? 22 times 18? Wrong one. $23 times 18. Okay. So let's do all cards board here. Access that as a unique name. We'll grab the board here. So this will be on all cards pressed. So in here, what I want to do is clear unlocks. Show all cards. I really don't think this is going to work from a performance standpoint, but we've got the unlock item container. We need to make this visible for all the other options. I'll call this all cards container here. Okay. All cards container. So this is going to need to turn into false here. Oops. Okay. So now I need to go to the card registry. I guess we'll have to iterate over all the player IDs. So, well, this is what we're going to do. Board all cards board dot set unbounded mode. How do I do this? Set dot board inventory component dot set unbounded mode. True starting dimensions. We'll do null. Well, let's do vector 2i. We'll do 1, what did I say, 23, so 1 by 23, and then the max dimensions here, oh no, this is reversed, 23, 1, and then new vector 2i, 23, and then just something ridiculous there. Those are the max dimensions. So I'm basically saying it can't go past 23 cells wide. Then I just need to do for each var card ID in card registry.all IDs. Card factory dot create card from ID is owned by player is true. Try place card at next available position. We'll do square true, I guess. This is gonna kind of mess with the ordering of the cards, but oh, okay. Hello, Kelso, welcome back. Firebelly always focus on this game, yep. I got nothing else going on. This is my only goal in life right now is to get this game done. Alright, well, we can see if this much works. I'm probably going to want to do... Oh, I'm probably not registering the board. That's the problem. So ready, I could do all cards. This board manager dot register board, all cards board, new board registration. Is quick move target equals false, quick move priority equals 0. What was the other thing I needed? Board equals all cards board. This dot get board manager add, or is it this dot get card mouse events manager dot add drag locks? Add drag locks for board, all cards board. Okay. Well, there's only one way to find out if this works. Okay. Oh, but that's getting all IDs. I need to do just player IDs. That is probably going to be a performance nightmare though, so I'm going to need to figure out what to do about that. I almost wonder if I can like mask it behind some kind of... Oh yeah, that is enormously slow. Wow, look at that. What am I gonna do about that? That is a very, very unacceptable lag. Why is that taking so long? Let's do this. Var OS, let's do var start time is equal to os.getTicks. No, time getTicks usec. End time data initializer.log.debug. Placing card ID took that many milliseconds. So let's just take a gander at what's going on there. I don't know where all of that performance is coming. Yeah, so look at this. I mean, we're taking upwards of a millisecond for each card. Aberration took 56 milliseconds. That's just because it's got to initialize all that stuff from the card registry. So the first time you access a static property or static field on a static class, that's when it gets populated. So it doesn't get populated like at when it first starts up, it gets populated the first time it's referenced. So there's going to be an initial lag, the first one that I reference, which really shouldn't happen because I am initializing that when I first start the game. When I go here, yeah, we're going to end up with this. So yeah, we've got a lot of things taking 1.3 milliseconds. So that's not a lot of time for an individual card, but I mean, we got 2 milliseconds here, but when you add that up across like 150 cards, I mean, we're getting to like 200 milliseconds, 250 milliseconds total. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do that. How am I going to work with that? My game is a platformer one, so much things to do yet. Much of my time is doing sleep. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Hello, Ariane. Welcome back. Beautiful cards you have there. Thank you. Do we have some kind of cache in Godot? Yeah, there's all kinds of caches, but I think the problem is, I don't know. I actually don't know where the bulk of the time is coming up from. I guess I could just do the create card from ID and see how long that takes. I'm pretty sure it's just building out the node tree for each of the cards is what's taking forever. Second stream, we are being spoiled, yes. So, I mean, creating the card... So just the initialization of the card here is taking a good amount of time. There is a question here, which is that, do I even need to be duplicating this? What happens if I don't duplicate it? Like maybe I don't even need to be duplicating this. It's probably going to be a disaster, but we'll see. Okay, so not duplicating it seems to take a lot less time, but still the bulk of the time is coming from actually putting the card in the board. So we need to figure that out. Hello, Nothing. Welcome back. Good to see you. Good to see you. So yeah, it looks like actually not duplicating the resource is saving a lot of time. Do I need to... Maybe I don't need to duplicate that. Let's see. Is this going to break anything? I actually don't think so, because I'm not changing any... Yeah, I'm not changing anything in this during runtime, so I think it should be safe to share references of the card definition resource. So maybe I just get rid of the duplicate and save a bunch of time on that. Still, the problem though is that building out the scene tree, I mean, it's relatively quick, but at the same time, we're still getting upwards of 1 millisecond here. So there's really only two ways to go here. Do this in a way that's not blocking of the main thread, or figure out how to get this, how to drive this scene tree build out of each card down to nothing as much as possible. A separate threaded task or spin up card creations. Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, that's probably the most realistic way to do it. Very unrelated, but I'm playing Terraria right now, and you once said you tried to make a Terraria clone before. Does that still exist, and what made you abandon it? What made me abandon it was very similar to what's going on here, which is that it was not that like it's easy enough to get world like 2D world generation working with like tile maps and stuff in Godot. The problem is doing chunks with tile maps is really slow. So basically, at least in the previous versions of Godot, I'm sure this is still the case, but doing chunks with tile maps was not very performant, and so would have needed to do some like mesh operations instead. So the way that like those voxel games work, like Minecraft, is they don't render each individual voxel. They have an operation which basically detects which voxels are visible, and it creates a mesh just out of those visible faces. So when you look at a Minecraft terrain, what you're looking at is you're just looking at a bunch of meshes that are all stitched together. It's not rendering every block. The blocks are just purely data, and then the mesh and collision shapes are rendered based on just like what's actually reachable or visible. And I figured, well, it's just a 2D game. I probably don't need to do that. I could probably just render up a tile map in chunks and then do that. But that was not the case. There was still noticeable lag with like getting the tile maps configured and added to the tree and whatnot. So I think the approach would have to be the same there, where you'd have to create like a 2D mesh and do that instead. And that just, would have just been a ton of work. And I also was mostly just goofing around. I wasn't really serious about creating a game like that. So I just like did a little prototype with the badly performing tile map chunks, and then I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm done with this. Or you could just be, or it could be pooling system for cards. Would a pooling system work? I mean, one thing I could do is when the game first starts, I could run a parallel or a operation in the task or on a separate thread that creates all of the card nodes specifically for this menu, and then just store those in memory until I need them. That would certainly be a lot quicker, I think. That would certainly be a lot quicker. Or I could just do it here. I mean, let me see what happens if I do this here. So if I do parallel for each. Am I not doing this in my base seated run? Oh, I'm doing task.run. Oh, I see. Can I use this? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know how for each async works. I guess so I could just do async operations in there. I don't know. But let's see. Oh, that's not going to work either. This try place card at next available position. That is not... This is not going to be thread safe. Scene tree operations in Godot are not thread safe. What I could potentially do is if card creation is the big problem, then what I can do maybe is instead of doing this here, let me just try this. Dictionary, string, card. Oh, does this need to be like a concurrent dictionary? Concurrent dictionary, string, card. Nope. Come on, give me my card. Card.card, I guess. Why can't I reference this? Gameplay.card, I guess. Okay. Can I do this? I have no idea. We can do that, and then we can do... We're all learning here. How do I create the freaking... Oh. Hold on, I actually don't... Oh, add to tree here. Card node. Right. Oh, create card node. Okay. Where is this being used? Is this ever used anywhere? No. Get rid of this. Actually, I guess I could use that now. Okay, let's do var card node is equal to card factory create card node, and then we'll say card node here. Card instance dot set card node. Card node. All right, and then for each var card ID in, we'll just iterate over this, I guess. Let's see how long this whole thing takes. Now, wait a minute. I don't know if this is going to work. Probably going to have to do some stuff. So for each var card ID, all I need to do now is just do card instances card ID. Oh, this actually does need to be a base card here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm doing this in a parallel.forEach. Now I actually don't think this runs on a different thread, so I may have to do something different there, but let's see if that does anything. It's highly likely that it won't. We could see using threads. Was it that big of a map that it would cause performance issues? How much rendering was it doing to be that bad? No, I was using like really small tile sets. Like I was using tile set chunks that were like 16 by 16 and it was still noticeably laggy creating all the chunks. So that was just my experience. but just add a loading spinner and call it a day. It was right with the AI snippet, async keyword can be used on anonymous functions. Right. Concurrent has try, add, or update. Eventually, you're just going to stream all day. Well, something's not working here. That parallel for each is not working. Okay, let's do a different approach then. I probably don't need a concurrent dictionary if I'm doing this, but we're just experimenting. Okay, let's try that. Sorry, I just popped in. What's the issue? Showing all the cards in my game for the player is unfathomably slow. Also, it's not working. Oh, there it goes. Wow, that was really not good. Okay. That is not quicker at all. Okay. Concurrent for each works well. You can use concurrent bag to get data out of it if you need it. Coincidentally, I was doing exactly that to parallelize my voxel meshing library. Well, the thing is, like, this isn't even close to quicker. Like, it's almost, even if I run this on a separate thread, it's almost quicker if I just do this, I think. Yeah, that took 111 milliseconds versus the task.run took 4 seconds. Okay. Gotta love that. Almost directly related to the thing I posted on the server a day ago, virtualized list. I don't think a virtualized list is going to be very easy for me, because I'm dealing with all kinds of different card sizes. I mean, I could do it, but that would require quite an implementation. Also, the virtualization won't help because everything's available on one screen here. I mean, the only time it would help is if, like, as soon as this grows larger than this screen. But yeah, virtualized list won't help me here. Unless I shrunk this down and then made it only like 3 columns wide. YouTube is censoring me. I'll talk here then. Oh, hello, Emerson. Sorry that YouTube is censoring you. Why is it that... Well, okay. What does parallel for each actually do? It wasn't even working in parallel for each. So this runs each item in the list concurrently, but that's not gonna... That doesn't even work at all. I wonder if this would ever resolve. We'll see. I'm kind of curious to see if this would ever work. So the concurrency slows it down quite a bit. I mean, the problem is this block of code is interacting with Godot APIs. Like, I used the concurrency successfully in another place because I wasn't really interacting with the Godot API, but because this is doing stuff with like the scene, like it's constructing a scene tree for each card, it may be the case that that's just not working. I mean, that's kind of the problem with Godot, is like you can't really concurrently build scene structures. Like, that almost never works. And my cards are all scenes. So if the major part of the slowdown is coming from the cards being created, and I can't do that concurrently, then what are you going to do? It creates a separate thread task to go through the loop, but the trade-off is it takes a bit of time to create and await those tasks. So if the workload isn't big enough to be worth it, it can hurt. Right, but it shouldn't be causing seconds of lag, right? I mean, this has been frozen for like a minute now. Or 2 minutes. What causes the lag? The packing algorithm to place the cards. No, the packing algorithm is fine. The lag is coming from entirely Godot operations. It's coming from creating the C# instance for each card, and it's also coming from building out the scene tree for each card. So instantiating the card scene, basically. The algorithm for actually packing the cards is very quick. Like, there's like a negligible performance hit. I measured that time one time, and it was like, for a very large board, like what's in my card inspector, the packing itself is something like 0.3 milliseconds. Which is, that's still quite a lot if you've got a 16 millisecond budget, right? But for an operation that's only happening like one time, 0.3 milliseconds is nothing, right? So the big problem is like each card, from creating the C# instance of that card to creating the scene structure of that card, we're looking at anywhere between like 0.75 and 2 milliseconds. And so when you're doing 100 cards at a time, that's going to be a couple hundred milliseconds, right? Okay, this just doesn't work. This parallel for each doesn't work, so that's okay. Get me out of here. So the only thing that worked, that actually functioned, was this await task.run, but that actually takes longer than just running that sequentially. Again, I'm sure there's some weird Godot internals with like mutexes and such that is probably causing the slowdown. That's just my uneducated guess, though. Maybe once you press unlocks button, it starts the task to load cards, but only a certain amount of batches to minimize lag. Yeah, the other thing I could do is I could just instantiate one card per frame and just have it fill up. Because if each card takes a millisecond, and I'm roughly operating on a 16 millisecond per frame budget, because that's 60 FPS, right? Then doing one card per frame could work. And, you would just see the board like fill up. The other thing I could do is I could hide the board until it's instantiated all the cards and display like a loading spinner or something. So I could do one card per frame to prevent blocking the thread. But that would actually take longer, because if I'm only doing one card per frame and I'm running at 60 frames per second and I've got 200 cards, then it's going to take several seconds to populate the menu. So that's not an ideal situation either. If I were to do one card per frame, I would just show this populating and filling up the cards. But yeah, with the task, it takes almost 5 seconds. I have no scenes at all or minimal dummy. Have no scenes at all or minimal dummy card scene. Well, that was the other thing, is like, could I transition the cards to using something like a pure, like if I just use the rendering server only, would that make a noticeable difference? That might be something to think about. Like if I could just draw all the cards to the screen and not have them use scenes. There's a couple of problems with that though. I'd have to figure out how to do the mouse interactions for that. And, you know, render all the background effects with masking and stuff. I mean, I'm sure I can do that. I'm sure I can still assign materials and stuff through the rendering server directly, because I'm almost positive that's what Godot is doing under the hood. Like the nodes here, these 2D nodes, these are basically just configuration objects that actually hook into the server, the rendering server under the hood. So when you do like a sprite node, that's just a nice editor-friendly way of configuring something that ultimately goes to the rendering server. So you can bypass the node, the scene tree creation process by just doing the rendering server stuff yourself, but that is a whole rabbit hole that I'd rather not go down if I don't have to. Did you hear that? It's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole. Maybe you'll have to just use simpler scene instead of the base card. You just need the sprite and descriptions, right? Yeah, I mean, the other problem too is that getting the descriptions for the cards also takes a little bit of time, like creating this card here. I wonder if that's because this 2-card instance, how long is this taking? Wonder if I could do something clever with this. I wonder if that 2-card instance is creating problems for me. I might be able to do something clever, actually, now that I think about it. Let's see how long that's taking. Unlocks all cards. Oops. Yeah, look at that. So that's kind of very hefty. Creating card instance, or no. Yeah, created card instance. So creating that C# script here is taking quite a bit of time. We're talking about like 0.1 millisecond per instantiation. I can probably avoid that. I wonder if I could cut that down. I think I can. Let me think about this. So the way I'm creating in the C# instance right now is a little bit wonktastic. So I go to my card definition resource here. What I'm basically doing is I'm loading up a reference to the C# script. So like C# scripts are still like resources in Godot. So you can load up C# scripts as resources and then instantiate them like this. That is very obviously taking a lot of time compared to just instantiating something in C# directly. So what I may need to do, what I could do is I could create a mapping. So I could write a tool that can create a mapping like a dictionary to constructor functions that is like card ID to constructor function. Then I could just bake that instantiation in there. That would probably cut that down dramatically, because then I don't need to worry about loading the C# script as a resource to tie those together. So I'm sure, let me try that. I mean, that's going to cut down a lot of time for sure. Still not going to help me with the other parts of it, but I can do that. Doing one card and our couple with subtle transition could look nice as long as the duration isn't super long. Yeah. Kitty. He's very needy today. He hasn't left me alone. Are you cute? He's purring. I don't know if you can hear him. Probably not. New fan here. Love your work. Do you prefer working with C# over GDScript? Yes, I do. But for personal preference, going through your Godot map, MP course, and when done with that, I'll get to your C# course. Awesome, thank you. Welcome, Washinator. Good to see you. You could use reflection for the class name from a card resource field. Could I use reflection? I guess I could. Concurrent bag when you load a C# script as a resource like that. Does it still... Concurrent bag... Oh, maybe that's from your old message. When you load a C# script as a resource like that, does it still get fully compiled at build time, or is it JITted? I do not know. I mean, all the C# scripts are compiled. So I think it's just... I don't know. I don't know how the internals work. It's maybe a silly question, but why do you need to load it on demand? Couldn't you just start loading when you open the game and just keep them loaded? That is another option. I can just store them all in memory and pull them from memory. That is certainly an option. But I still think it would be good to cut down this time here, because this is going to have benefits for the entire game if I can cut down this card script stuff. So what I could do is... I'm going to just modify my ID constants generator here. I really like to see clever tools being used in development. Yeah. It's fun to see them. Not super fun to write them, but that's okay. I'll just put it in here for now. I guess constructors is probably not the right word, but that's all right. This is going to be a mess, but bear with me here. Can I do this? Hold on a second. I'm going to need to write this up. Would you have any good tips on how to manage a huge project like this? I always get lost when the project grows. Maybe I'm just not built for this. Do I have any good tips? I mean, the main one is just be consistent. Like, if you're just constantly experimenting with your organization during the project and you're like, well, I don't like where I put this thing before, so I'm going to create a new folder and put this here, and like, you're just kind of like, oh, like changing the way that you're doing things midway through, that's going to create a lot of confusion. The main thing is to be consistent. So, you know, even if you don't like the style that you've set up or the organization pattern that you've set up, sticking with that is more important than changing it midway through, unless, of course, you change everything at the same time, right? So if you say, I don't like how I set this up from top to bottom, I'm going to reorganize the entire thing all at once, But you want to make it consistent. You don't want to just throw stuff wherever, and you also don't want to start thinking, well, I put the character in the entities folder before, but now I'm going to put the new characters in a character folder. It's like, you don't want to do that, right? Just if you've got an entities folder and you started putting certain types of things there, keep putting certain types of things there. Just keep putting those same types of things there. Obviously, using very clear class names and folder names is very important too. Like, it's okay to be verbose with your class names. If verbosity increases your ability to understand where stuff is located, then be verbose, right? You don't need to be, you don't need to be super concerned about like making sure you've got like really tight, clever class names. If you can't think of anything clever, then just make the class name like 12 words long. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? The most important thing is to make sure that you understand what's going on in the class. But I mean, besides that, I don't know if I have any good tips. So can I do this? I just want to see. Oh, I got to use system collections.generic in here. Oops. This is a nightmare, but like I said, bear with me here. Okay. Oh, I got to use system too. Okay. Using system. Am I not allowed to do that? The left-hand side of an assignment. How do I do this? We're just going to tell the AI to do this. How do I do this correctly? Hello, Mr. Elliptic. Thank you for the raid of 34 people. Wow. Very much appreciate that. You guys caught me at a time where I'm trying to improve the performance of my game, and it's not going super well, but thank you again. Needed to raid and run, have fun. That sounds good. Thank you. Have a good day. Oh. I was a little bit off there. Okay. All right, so then it's going to be something like this. Oh, but this needs the card definition resource too. Oh, why do I need the card definition resource? Do I ever use this? Oh, it does. Okay, so this is actually not going to help. Is it going to help? I guess I could pass in... I don't know. Is this going to work? Is this going to meaningfully improve anything? I should probably use like a... Maybe this will be easier. All right. It's just a tool script. It doesn't need to be super fancy. Is that going to work? I have no idea. Okay. We're going off on a wild tangent here. It's okay. We'll see what happens. I guess that's all right. ID equals definition new ID to Pascal case. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. Build this. Hello, Sacrificial. Welcome back. Good to see you. Always good to see you. By the way, for the people that joined from the raid, I'm working on my game Alchemortis. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to create your own builds and synergies. There's a Steam page linked below. If that sounds like your type of game, check out the Steam page. Give it a wish list if it sounds good to you. I would very much appreciate that. And of course, we're using everyone's favorite engine, Godot. So, I mean, if you ask me, it's almost worth wish listing just for that alone. Input string was not in a correct format. Failure to parse. Oh, I forgot. Well, time to ask the AI again. How do I do a string format when I'm... I basically never use this way of doing strings, so am I not allowed to do that? I guess I could just do a string replace, right? I don't need to do a string format. Oh, goodness. Oh, it needs braces doubled. Oh, I can do that. I guess I was already doing that up here. Okay, let's try that. Build. Hello, A6 Giddy or Giddy World. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Okay, let's do the ID constants generator again. Did that do anything? Card constructors. Oh, check that out. Okay. That works. Except for that first one. Oh, I know why that first one's not working. I need to bring this over. The formatting doesn't really matter. What matters is that this class maps all my constructors. So that works. And then I need to have in here, I need to have a public base card, toCard instance, card definition resource definition. We're going to do, we'll just do that. That sounds fine. Public static. Copy this, paste this in here. Now I don't know how to do this, so we're just going to say just throw an empty exception for now. Okay. Giddy like in get or get. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so that's all in place. So I've got a 2-card instance now available on that. So that's what I'm going to have to call probably from the card factory. So instead of calling 2-card instance on the definition itself, which I'm doing in a bunch of places, so I'm actually going to remove this. This is going to have to be card constructors, 2-card instance, this, I think. We can get rid of this card script, get rid of that. Okay, hopefully this will be better. I have no idea. Card constructors.2card instance. I should also probably support just an ID in here, but I don't think I need that. Card registry.training dummy. So this would be card constructors.2card instance. Okay. Base card from ID. Okay. Let me just run that tool again. Failed a bit of project. Oh. So hopefully by bypassing that whole Godot referencing the C# script as a resource and then instantiating it from there, hopefully this will make it a little bit quicker. Did that put everything in there? Yeah, it did. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm just going to run this again just to be extra sure. ID constants generator. That has created the card constructor here. This could be read only, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, I've still got all my cards here. That's good. If I go to my unlocks menu. So this is still going to take a while, but that wasn't the main fix. I don't think that really noticeably improved anything. I don't think that made much of a difference. I mean, I guess it kind of did. Some of these card instance creations are taking a long time, though. I don't know where that's coming from. 0.487. I think it is quicker, though. I think it is a little bit quicker this way. 0.07 milliseconds, that's definitely better than it was. I'm still seeing 0.1 here and there, though. I don't think that made much of a difference, honestly, compared to the old way I was doing it. Is it this weak ref stuff that I'm doing? I have some weird stuff going on with this card. Oh, I might not even... I don't think I'm even using that, so never mind. I'll have to take a look at that later. That might be old stuff. Well, that didn't make much of an improvement, sorry to say. So honestly, I think the only option to do, well, there's a couple options. I can create only a handful of cards each frame and populate that there, or I can do like somebody else said, which is, you know, instantiate all the cards at startup on a thread and then just store those long-term in memory. And then just put them all on the board. That may be the way to do it. So even if it takes 5 seconds to create all the cards, which is what it takes if I do it in a threaded task, if I'm doing that from the very start of the game, they should be available before the player opens up this menu. The other option is show a loading screen the first time and then store all the cards in memory. What am I going to do about this? Is the time taken the script because then you even need that? No, almost all of the time being taken here. I mean, do I want to even keep this constructor way of doing things? I don't know. Do I want to keep this? Maybe I'll keep it, but most of the time is coming from my card factory. I'm going to get rid of this because this is just cluttering up the logs here. So most of the time is coming from actually creating the card scene, I think. So if I go back to, I'm getting lost here. Go back to my unlock menu. Put this here. Create card node. I mean, we can do, is it adding to the tree that causes the problem, or actually probably creating the scene? So let's measure this. Really? Really, AI, you're not going to finish that for me? Thank you. I think it's mostly the card instantiation that's taking the time. Let's see. 3-second intro animation. Firebelly Games fixes this. Yeah. I guess that's true. Okay, unlocks. So, I mean, all in all, instantiating the card scene doesn't... It doesn't take that long. I mean, 0.6 milliseconds, so on and so forth, but all of these add up, obviously, and create a noticeable hitch. So it takes 169 milliseconds. Now, the weird part is that doing this in a task on a thread actually increases the time from 160 milliseconds to like 4 seconds, but it doesn't block the main thread. This parallel for each, this doesn't do anything. This just freaking bricks it. But we could try the parallel for each again, maybe. I don't think that's going to work. Absolutely cringe. What am I even looking at? Where's the Claude Code Terminal? Brovara in 2026? JavaScript Mogs. Oh, goodness. I do like JavaScript a lot. Yeah, parallel for each doesn't do anything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to fix this. I mean, I guess I laid out all the paths forward here. What am I going to do? All right, tell you what. I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break. When I come back, we will figure out something. I'm kind of tempted just to do like, you know, create 2 or 3 cards per frame and just let the board fill up. I'm kind of tempted to do that. The other thing that I'm tempted to do is create all of the cards at startup or something and then store them in memory. The only problem is that if I create them all at startup, I would want to run them in a task, but I think it's possible that the player could get to like the unlocks menu. If it takes 5 seconds, I think it's possible that the player could get to the unlocks menu before that 5-second runtime is up. And that's with the number of cards that I currently have in the game, right? If you imagine double the cards, is that going to take double the time? Is it going to take 10 seconds then to populate all the cards in a task? Like, I don't understand why the task is so much slower. I can only assume that it's because anything that interacts with the Godot API in a thread is probably going to be problematic. So like I'm referencing these resources and whatnot. I mean, it's possible that I could just move everything to the C# layer so that it's not interacting with the Godot API at all, except to create the card node here. But still, if that happens in a thread, that's still going to be a problem. But if I could do like I don't know if a translation layer is the right word to use, but if I could take all my card definition resources, for instance, stuff all that data into like a pure C# object so I'm no longer dealing with a Godot reference, and then pass that definition object around, maybe that would help. I don't know. These are all things that I have to try. The Godot internals are a black box to me, so I don't really know how things are working. If instantiation is your problem, then rendering server is your obvious solution, but then you would need to know how to handle the hovering. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that could be a pure data thing too. Oh, no, it can't, because I'm kind of relying on the control node input system to detect when the mouse is over a card. Because it's one thing to know if the mouse is over a card, just generally speaking, right? Is this mouse position inside of the bounding box of a card? That's one thing. But to know if the mouse is currently, like, to know if the game or the game UI is currently in a context where that card can actually be clicked on, in other words, there's not like a menu or something over top of the card, that would be basically impossible. I mean, nothing's impossible, but that would be a huge, huge pain in the rear to figure out. I could do like a mixture of things. Like I could still create like individual control nodes for the card areas, but then I'd have to worry about synchronizing those positions if I use the rendering server. Why is this so difficult? I could potentially still use a card scene and just try to strip down the number of nodes that are used. So if the card scene ended up just being like the root node plus the control areas that detect mouse hover, and everything else that like was responsible for drawing the card art was in the rendering server, that might help a lot too. So if I'm only instantiating, instead of instantiating this whole tree here, and the other part too is like, there's a lot of materials on all these nodes. So I don't know if that's playing an effect either. There's so many variables here that I just don't know how to nail down exactly. But I've got like, you know, these nodes here and then all these nodes here. I've got a back buffer copy. I've got a shader rect, and then the mouse areas, this will have, you know, a number of nodes equal to how many cells the card occupies. So a 3x3 card is going to have nine control areas under here. It's a tough problem, that's for sure. If you could fire the event and not await it, it'll do its thing as a fire and forget, but that doesn't solve what you mentioned of waiting for a lot of cards. Yeah. Pre-calculate the position, since you can do that all in C#. Then once you have all that, you load each one into the tree when it's loaded. It'll trickle, but it might look cool. Pre-calculate the positions. Yeah, maybe that could work. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I just wish I knew why this task... Like, if I could get this task to run in a similar amount of time that it runs sequentially, so if I could get it... Like, if it only takes 200 milliseconds to load all the cards, and the task running, let's say that adds 100 milliseconds to it, having a 300 millisecond loading bar, or whatever, to show the cards... would be completely appropriate, because the main thing is I don't want to hitch the game. I don't want to block the main thread. So if I could just show like a loading bar, even for up to a second, that would probably be okay. But having to wait 5 seconds for it is not good. Hello, Neozoid. All right, I'm gonna be right back in just 3 minutes here, and then when I come back, we're probably just gonna be doing a bunch of experimenting because I don't really know what I'm doing. So maybe you'll learn something from me. At least you'll learn what not to do or what you can't do. But anyway, I'll be right back in 3 minutes and we'll continue on. Okay, I'm back. Let's figure out what we're doing here. Maybe I should do some more testing here. Let me see if this gives me some clue. Oh, I want to put this back in the, let's see. Oh, it's in the task.run, okay. So no, the fetching of the, huh? Okay, so there we go. So the instantiating the card is what balloons the time. So I can't instantiate the card inside of the this task. So it's this create card. Basically, instantiating the card is just like, that's the problem. It's, as far as I can tell, that's like the unavoidable thing that is adding a bunch of time to this. And for some reason, the time is ballooning when it's done in a task like that, which I can only really chalk up to the fact that scene tree operations are not thread safe in Godot. So even when you're creating it, like, because I'm not doing anything with the overall scene tree in here, this is just creating the card scene in memory. But yeah, for some reason, that's just, I almost wonder, what happens if I do this? Let me just try loading the card scene here and referencing that there. I doubt that's going to make a difference, but I mean, the reference may even be shared because I think Godot caches resources by default. So that's probably not going to make much of a difference. No, it didn't make any difference at all. Okay. Can I do... Is there a way to, like, not... Well, let's see. Nope. Okay. Maybe if we just measure the instantiation itself, we can narrow it down even more. I'm almost positive that's what it is, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay, well. So basically it's just this. This is the problem. This is what's causing all the time usage. $50 milliseconds per card when I do it in a task. That's unfortunate. So the task doesn't really help. I mean, the only thing that this task is accomplishing that is just preventing the main thread from being blocked while that's happening, but it's not really all that useful if it's, you know, 20xing the time it takes to actually build that card scene. Well, if I can't get this task run to go quicker, then I think doing like an async load is just not going to work. So my only two options are figure out how to get the card instantiation working like lightning fast so I can do like 100 instantiations in one frame, which would probably only really be accomplishable if I was leveraging the rendering server a lot, which is something I may end up looking into. But man, I feel like I have no good options here. I have an idea. What if you make this run as a tool script? That way you can run it at dev time. The downside is you'll need to run it every time we got new cards. So I think what I need to do, I would need to somehow... So you're saying generate this scene. So if I was somehow able to do the, like, go to the remote tree, margin container, inner panel, this all cards container. So you're saying take this card take this board and all the cards that are here and stuff it all into one scene and then just load that scene all at once. Is that what you're suggesting? Could redo how to represent the cards. They could be shown as a list view. Yeah, I mean, I could maybe do that. The problem is that's not so easy to do with all of my the way that my cards are placed on boards and everything. Can I just like dump this? Oh, I can save this. Oh, I can save the scene from here. The problem is it's not going to hook into like all my board stuff, but maybe it'll work. We should be able to at least get a feel for how much quicker that is, if it's going to be quicker. I'll just save this here for now. Oh gosh. So actually I could just tell from opening it in the editor that that takes a long time as well. So I doubt that that's going to be much quicker. Oh, and it saved the H scroll and V scroll stuff as well. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be much quicker, to be honest. Left side graphic and right side info panel. No way you can, that's new to me, yeah. So I don't think, I mean, I guess the benefit of doing it in like a vertical list is I could, you know, instantiate the first 10 and just like every frame add more to the end of the list. But I think it's still going to be the same problem because it's not fundamentally the board layout that's causing the problem. Like the board operations are very, very quick. It's the actual card instantiation. So if I just created a list of all the cards, yeah, I could just create the first 10 or whatever, and then just keep adding more to the list over the next frames until the whole list is populated. But the problem there is that I also don't think that's going to be a terribly good user experience. Because if you're looking for a specific card, then you got to scroll through an alphabetical list. Or I could put like a search bar, I guess, too. But I think it's kind of nicer to look at the cards like this. Oh gosh. Is it taking for instantiate, or is it taking a long time to load the pack seeds? The loading of the pack scene is fine. It's the instantiation that's taking all the time. The instantiation is the reason why this is slow. What do you think about this? Well, one thing that's currently a problem is I'm not going to use this, so we'll get rid of that. Let me just get this working here first. I wasn't freeing the cards from memory previously, so I was getting, let's see. Man. There are no good options here. I mean, the rendering server thing is... I would love to experiment with that, it's just I don't know where to start. And I don't really want to fumble through that on stream. I'd have to go and do some research on how exactly to use that. I'm not even sure that that's going to help, honestly. Is there an easy way to test it, though? Like, if I just turned this off, the visibility off, is that going to do anything? No. Yeah, I just don't know. Is it just the number of nodes in the tree? Or is it the nodes plus the materials? One problem is these are all local to scene. So let me try something. Let's stash this so I don't accidentally break my card. I'm just going to turn off local to scene on all this stuff. So on every material, let's turn off local to scene so it's not duplicating that material. That's probably going to come with a bunch of other problems, but we will worry about that in a second. Oh, the problem, yeah, that's going to break everything because I need distinct noise textures for those things, but that's okay. Let's just see if this makes a noticeable difference. Yeah, because these all have different like mask textures and everything, so that is definitely not going to work, but we can see if that makes a difference at all in the instantiation. So let's see. Nope, barely any difference. I think it was like 160 before, now it's 144. Oh goodness. What are we going to do about this? 124 that time. Maybe if I just do it a bunch of times, it will get slower and slower. No. All right, well, let me try this then. I'm going to try instantiating batches of cards over a period of time. That might look a little bit weird, but we'll try it. We will try it. We can do the set unbounded mode up here. Private list. Card ID to load. Card IDs to load. Don't need this. Don't need that. Public override void process. Or var I equals cards loaded, I plus plus. Card ID equals cards to load I. If I mod 3 is equal to 0, or do I want to do that? Let's do card IDs, cards loaded plus plus. If cards loaded mod 3 is equal to 0, break. We don't need this anymore. So we'll load 3 per batch. And then we need to cancel that, or we need to clear that card IDs to load. Clear unlocks. Clear the card IDs to load. Okay, maybe that will work. Let's find out. Upgrade your PC. That's what Todd would say. Yeah. Yeah. Unlocks. Oh, that's still very laggy. That doesn't work either. I mean, it's better. But that's actually creating quite a bit of lag. I don't know what I'm gonna do about this. Stumped yet again. Oh, it's still, yeah, it's still going after it's finishes placing cards, which is fine. Wow. Maybe this is taking a while. I'm pretty sure I tested this before, though. Let's just take a look at what that does now. No, the card placement is taking a while, actually. Sometimes it's taking up to 2 milliseconds. Okay, so maybe I was wrong about that. So placing cards is a problem. Why does that take so long? Is it these signal emissions? Mid-signal board state updated? Maybe that's a problem. Let's get rid of these for now. That's going to break something, but maybe that's triggering some kind of update that's not super good. Okay. So now we're down to quite, okay. So we've got another clue unlocked. These signals are being emitted every time try place card at position is called. This board state updated is probably causing a problem. Okay, so that's another thing that I need to look at, I guess. Let's try it without the board state updated and see if that makes a difference, because I still need the card placed signal. Unlock menu. Where am I at? Board inventory component. So let's get rid of this for now. See if that makes a meaningful difference. That's a problem too. Actually, the board state updated might be the least of the problems. Oh, you know what? I think the card is actually being added to the tree in this emit signal card place. Yeah, so this emit signal card place is actually what's triggering the card instantiation, I think, eventually. So on card placed, it's adding the card node here, and that's calling add to tree. That will instantiate the card node if it hasn't been instantiated already. So yeah, it's not that those signals necessarily are triggering side effects that are long running, it's that this is actually causing the card instantiation, so that makes sense. I bet you if I got rid of that and left this one up, it would be basically the same as it was before, super fast. Okay. So really all this stuff is very, very fast, except for the card instantiation. So we're back to card instantiation being the problem. I think I have to look at the rendering server. I mean, I don't really know what else I can do about this. Like, if the card instantiation is going to be the big time sink here, I need to figure out a way of, like, not doing that. Right? I mean, am I wrong? Is there any other path forward? I mean, I could show a 5-second loading menu, but that's not really acceptable either. Virtual cards and position data. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to do something like that, I think. At the end of the day, the card's creating that card scene structure every time a card is instantiated. That's what's causing the problem. At the end of the day, whenever this gets added to the tree for each card, that's the problem. So I don't really know if there's a way around that. I don't think so. Are all your cards in a single texture atlas, or is it having to load all the images individually at runtime? They are not in a single texture atlas. Would that help? I don't know. I think the next step probably is to maybe create a dummy card class. So instead of having this giant NoTD, if I could just maybe the next step is to create a separate dummy card class that has like all the same methods and stuff that are being called, but instead of doing all the stuff of a normal card, just insert like one node into the tree and see if that makes a difference. I'm pretty sure it would, but I just don't know exactly what in here is causing a massive slowdown. I have a feeling it's something to do with the materials that are all on these nodes. but that's just a feeling. But the problem is in here somewhere. It's either just the fact that instantiation itself is being a problem, or maybe there's some, like, one thing in here that's particularly heavy, or one thing in this bind to card that is particularly heavy that is causing all those problems. Just jumping in, can you have a few placeholders instantiate at startup to avoid the new hit? Well, that is an option, is to like somehow create all the cards in memory, because I'm pretty sure, so what I did for my card inspection tool here, what I did in here is, what I'm basically doing is I create all the cards at startup here so I can see all the cards, and then when I switch these filters, I'm not recreating the cards, I'm just taking the cards in and out of the grid and using the cards that are in memory. So if I like do exact tags here, so I've got nothing in this board, right? But as I uncheck stuff, it's taking cards out of memory and putting them on the board, which seems to be a lot quicker, although there is still a slight hitch. I don't know if you can tell, but there is still a slight hitch when I switch to all these places. So when I go from all to ally to enemy. So even though those are stored in memory, there's still a hitch. So I don't even know if that's going to be suitable either. And you need cards added to the tree to dictate placement of other cards. Like, you can't just accumulate and batch add. No, the placement of the cards is entirely data oriented. The cards themselves are just visual. So this node doesn't know anything about the game state. So all of these cards, they don't know anything. They're just purely visual, and they're placed by other systems to make sure their position is correct. But because these are purely visual, these have all kinds of things. Like, they've got shaders and different effects playing on them depending on like what the card is configured. But all the cards and all the positions of the cards, those are like pure data. Those don't have a visual component. A quickish way you should be able to at least render this screen is to texture pack them and then just draw them to a canvas by passing offsets. Then you need to do more work on top of that to get your interactivity back. Best solution that solves all, control delete. Yeah. There's no card, there's no problem. That's the AI solution right there. So it's likely a combination of the malloc and marshalling. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know the internals of Godot. Why not just remove all the materials as a test if you think that's the problem? I could do that. I mean, I keep doing that on accident. I mean, I might as well just do this. Let's keep the card background and the sprite, and let's get rid of everything else. We'll keep the mouse areas too. So we stripped all that down. What did I get rid of? I got rid of card effect, enchant effect, alchemy effect, card UI, card turn indicator, card highlight, shader rect, back buffer copy, background effects, card legendary effect. I'm just gonna strip this all down. Back buffer rect. We'll get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. This. Play legendary impact particles. We get rid of that. Dim in. None of these things are not called when it's instantiated, so it doesn't matter. I just need to comment these out so the compile doesn't fail. Enable back buffer, disable back buffer. Get rid of this, get rid of that. Okay. Let's see if that works. We'll see if that makes a meaningful difference. Actually, what I might do is I'll just get rid of that batching. For now, it's still happening in the process, but it should be okay. Oh my. Oh, but none of this is working now. Object reference not set to an instance of object. I think that worked a lot quicker though. Placing cards took 43 milliseconds. So with stripping down all of that stuff and just having these nodes took 43 milliseconds. Maybe let's get rid of the mouse areas too. Let's just move this. Move this back here. This is going to be a little bit finicky, but that's okay. Just put this back here. Let's also strip down the mouse areas. Card. $42 milliseconds. Okay, so those mouse areas were not making a big difference. So it still takes 42 milliseconds per card. That doesn't seem right to me. Let's get rid of this stuff. Let's get rid of this. Hard background texture, we're going to get rid of that. Oops, wrong button. That's a lot of effects, yeah. Well, you know. I don't know how I'm going to replicate all those effects. I don't know how to use the rendering server, so. 41 milliseconds. So, I mean, I've basically stripped down this class as much as possible. I can get rid of all these connections, get rid of all this update visuals, get rid of this. I don't think we're going to be... Oh, maybe this effect noise texture is being a problem. Oh, there's also these export variables here. Effect noise texture. Is this being used anywhere else? No. Fade highlight material. Border mask. Okay, we'll get rid of all these. So there's still a lot of code in here, but these things are called, they're not called when the thing is initiated, or initialized, or instantiated, whatever the dang word is. Okay, so we got rid of all the export variables as well. Let's see what this does, if that makes a meaningful difference. 39 milliseconds. Is there anything else I can cut? So basically, this card... Oh, placing all cards took 39 milliseconds, right. So 39 milliseconds to place 100... How many cards is it? Total player cards, 89. So 39 milliseconds to place 89 cards. And that's with just this stripped down... With the stripped down scene and script. That seems way too long. I'm not even placing the mouse areas anymore. Pretty sure runtime shader compilation doesn't happen for hidden materials, no? At least I'm pretty sure that's the case. That is true, yes. Man, you have no idea how much I want to play Alchemortis. The visuals are so appealing and the gameplay looks so fun. Thank you, Jablaya. Appreciate that. If you join the Discord, you can be notified when the next playtest goes live. I've been running periodic playtests, so if you're really itching to play it, there will be a 1-week period where the playtest will be open for everyone. So that next playtest will be happening in maybe a month or so. So definitely join the Discord so you know when it happens. Is this over a single frame or are you deferring over multiple frames? So I wasn't deferring over multiple frames. This is just, yeah, so 39 milliseconds to do it in a single frame. So obviously that's going to cause a hitch, a somewhat noticeable hitch, because, you know, if you're targeting a 16 millisecond frame budget, I can't really tell if there's a hitch though. Like I guess I could go into the game here and open up the menu and see if I notice a hitch, but that 39 milliseconds is probably going to be noticeable. Yeah, I did notice that. I don't know if you could tell on the stream, but there's definitely a definite hitch there. And I'm on a pretty powerful processor as well. So, you know, that's probably going to be even more apparent on lower end devices like Steam Deck. I could defer it over multiple frames now. I could do like a combination of things where, you know, I only do like 20 cards or whatever, 10 cards per frame, and then just show a loading progress bar until all the cards have been added to the board and then show the board all at once. But it's still a problem. Like I feel like it shouldn't, ideally it shouldn't take, well, that time it took 107 milliseconds to place all the cards. Yeah, I just don't, sometimes it's just taking a ridiculous amount of time to instantiate the card. I don't know why that's happening. That seems very sus to me. So 27 milliseconds to place all these stripped down cards, 89 of them. I stripped all the materials out, I'm pretty sure, of the card script or the card scene. Missed the last playtest, will definitely be here for the next. Awesome. Glad to hear that. So they were unique proceedings, so curious if it's shader compilation. I mean, I already deleted all the shaders. I deleted all the nodes that were using materials, unless I still have a material hanging around here. Yeah, there's no materials on either of those things. There's no material here. There's no materials on any of these nodes. Let me just double check and make sure I'm not like loading. I mean, I am loading this here, but that's a static. So that shouldn't actually even be loaded until I reference the static member, but we can get rid of this stuff as well, just for good measure. I don't have any other material stuff in here. Yeah, I stripped out all the material stuff from the script and from the scene. Gotta be a logic issue then. I just don't see where that could happen. I could get rid of this bind to card entirely. I don't know if that's even gonna work, but we'll see. I mean, there's no logic happening. Like, this is the entire thing. Create card from ID. It's getting the card definition resource. I already tested that. That's like super fast. It's like 0.002 milliseconds. Then it's calling create card. It's creating the card constructor, which is just a mapping of ID to constructors. That's super fast. Set as player owned is just changing a flag. This create card node is calling the instantiate here. But this create card from ID, that's happening in the unlock menu here. So all that's happening is I'm getting all my card IDs, starting the time here before the loop, ending the time after the loop. That's all that's happening. There's no logic. There's no heavy logic. I'm Godot new, but this is where I break out the profiler. Not sure what good options are out there. Is there a profiler in Godot? I believe so. I don't really know how to use it. How's your experience C# and Godot been so far? You seem very fluent with it, but I'm curious about the limitations before moving from Unity. Any insights or tips? Would appreciate it. I mean, the only limitation is that there's no web exports. So if you want to put your game on, you know, as an HTML5 web export, you can't do that with C# at the moment. But they've been saying that for like over a year now. Maybe even approaching 2 years. So I don't know when that's coming. So I would say that if you choose to use C#, you basically just have to accept that you're probably not going to be able to export it to web. But if you can tolerate that, then yeah, C# is totally fine. Works great. Works great. I don't think Godot's profiler supports C#. Need writer or dot trace. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I could get rid of this again. So we're just going to do the card placed signal. "24 milliseconds for 89 cards, which is not noticeably different, really, from what I had before. All this logic in here for actually like determining where the cards can be placed, that's all super quick. Because if I get rid of try place card, if I just get rid of these signals here, mostly this one, so this signal ultimately ends up creating the card node. If I get rid of that, then it should be like super, super fast, but there will be no visuals, which is a problem. So yeah, placing cards took 11 milliseconds for 89 cards. The tri-place card impact is, I mean, I don't think it's, I just tested this like 30 minutes ago. It wasn't anything super, super heavy. I am measuring it here. So let's see. So card place start time, card place end time. It's wrapped around tri-place card at next available position. And then the log message is placing card, whatever, took this much time. So you can see placing card took 0.002, 0.003, 0.004, which maybe you could argue that's still relatively heavy, but I mean, four 1,000ths of a millisecond. Some of these are taking a little bit longer, like this one is 0.05 milliseconds. So maybe I should figure out what's going on in that. This one is 0.05 as well. But still, that's like a negligible amount of time, right? I guess when you add it all up, maybe it's not so negligible. But I guess if I could figure out why some of these are taking longer, like this 0.16 and this 0.05, if I could get those down to be like 0.004, that might help, but still that doesn't change the fact that the overwhelming majority of the time is coming from the card instantiation. First card takes 2.7. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, that could be a number of things. That could, because I'm running the scene directly here. If I just go into the normal game flow and then I open up the menu, probably we'll see a different story. Yeah, so now it's, instead of taking 2 milliseconds, it's 0.13, which is still a lot. I don't know why these are taking that much time. So I could investigate that. But this one took 1.66 milliseconds. That's interesting. So I think there's maybe there is something to evaluate in there why some cards are taking so long to do. Yeah, 30 milliseconds. .7. Is it the same cards every time? $1.7. I've noticed that running this while in game seems to take longer. One of your methods showed several dozen new calls. Is that per card? If you have an O to N loop, might be something worth looking at. I don't think, maybe you were looking at this. This one. This is just a mapping of the card ID to its C# class. So this is not happening. It will happen sequentially in the sense that, like, if I'm iterating over the card IDs and instantiating them, but this is just a dictionary lookup, if that's what you're referring to. So yeah, I guess there is an opportunity to figure out why that try-place card position is taking too long, but still it doesn't change the fact that the bulk of the issue is the card scene. So that took 30 milliseconds without placing the card in the scene. If I go to the try place card at position, put those signals back, I guess that doesn't, that only goes up to like 40 milliseconds, right? $23 milliseconds. Wait a minute. Yeah, there's some variability here in why things take so long. Because with 30 milliseconds without these signals, now it's 23. That doesn't make any sense. I guess I should do the same test, though. I should go from in-game into the menu. Value is a lambda, yeah. Placing cards took 141 milliseconds. So it does take longer when I'm coming from the game versus if I just run this by itself. That's 24 milliseconds. Yeah, I don't know why that's a difference. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. $11 seconds. 11 milliseconds, rather. 18 milliseconds. So yeah, let's just say that if I could shave off several milliseconds from the placing card on the board, that would be good. I mean, I could do what Emerson suggested, and instead of trying to hyper optimize that, I could just somehow generate all the card positions and the board size ahead of time for that menu. So that would just save a bunch of time, so I don't have to recalculate it every time. But still have the problem of why the cards take so long to instantiate, which is like the core problem here. I'm gonna have to think about this. I guess I'm just gonna have to experiment with the rendering server. Yeah, I'll have to think about it. I don't know. There's got to be a clever way around this. There has to be a clever way around this. Anyway, I'm going to put this on a new branch. Well, I'm going to have to think about this. I don't think I'm going to make any more progress on this right now. I have to go do a deep dive into the rendering server and see if I can find any resources on how to use that. If anyone does have any resources on how to effectively use the rendering server beyond what's already stated in the docs, I would appreciate if you would throw those in the Discord server. so I can take a look at those, read through that. But yeah, there's a problem here, and it needs to be addressed. I think there's several things that all add up, right, to the total time that it takes to place these things, but definitely the bulk of it is the card placement. So I need to get that figured out first, and then whatever performance issues are inside of this board inventory component, I can address those after I address that. Like once, like you gotta address the bulk of the time first, right, and then do the next biggest, and so on and so forth. So anyway, because even if I got this down to like 1 millisecond to place 89 cards on the board, which would still be a little bit long, but I'm still dealing with the fact that placing all those cards with that scene structure is still taking like 100 plus milliseconds. So shaving 20 milliseconds off of that certainly helps, but not a whole lot. Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream, though. Thank you all for watching for the second stream today. Very much appreciate it. And thank you. Welcome to all the new viewers as well. Rendering server should only really be needed if GPU is the bottleneck. You should definitely be able to add 100 sprites in a single frame. Well, that's what I'm thinking too, but apparently that's not the case. Apparently that's not the case, but I mean, I could try. I mean, maybe the next step to do before I go too deep into that is to just try to instantiate 100 card nodes, absent a board, absent all the other stuff, and just create all the card nodes and add them to the tree and see how long that takes. And see what's going on there, I guess. What are you using to keep track of your tasks? Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Like have the cards pop up one by one real fast. Yeah, the problem is still like if they're taking a significant amount of time, it's still going to create like the problem is like I could do that, but let's say you're running the game at 120 frames per second and then all of a sudden it gets cut down to 60 frames per second while the cards are loading. That still feels bad too. So it's like, I don't really know if that's a solution either, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for giving me ideas. I'll do some more experimentation on this and I'll see what's going on. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I'm continuing to work on this tomorrow's stream or if we'll do something else. But I'll be streaming again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, so I hope to see you there. Thanks again for the new people here. Thanks for coming and hanging out, and I hope to see you in a future stream. Have a good day, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye.